This is video 1 of 8 covering the Exam 2 Primary Study Guide. This video begins with the Chapter 15 Concepts on page 1. So Chapter 15 was about job order costing. For this particular chapter, you're going to have 5 multiple choice questions at 2 points each for a total of 10 points and a 15 points written question. Each chapter, so you get 4 chapters on this exam, each chapter, including this one, is worth a total of 25 points. This exam will be broken out 50 points for multiple choice, 25 multiple choice altogether, 50 points for the 4 written questions. You will have 1 written question for each chapter covered for a total of 100 points. So this one is a little more skewed towards the written question, but still pretty evenly split. Okay, some things you want to know for Chapter 15. Know when to use process or job order costing. Remember, job order costing is used for really custom, unique products. Process used for a more mass manufacturing context. Be able to identify examples. Be able to define or differentiate process and job order costing. Know how to do the journal entries for the inventory flows. There's a big comprehensive problem at the end of the Chapter 15 notes that could be really helpful. Additionally, the examples in the study guide, obviously. You want to be able to do these journal entries. Additionally, you want to know what those inventory accounts reflect. So like raw materials or materials that I have in storage that I have not yet used in process. Work in process represents inventory that is still out there in process, meaning it's been started but it has not yet been completed. Finished goods represents goods that are completed and ready for sale. Okay. So when do we use job order costing? Do we use it in a mass manufacturing context or a unique or custom product context? So job order costing is used when we have unique or custom products that we make. So some common examples would be if we were like a contractor who made houses, or anything described as custom. Most of the time, things described as luxury goods. Professional services like audit of financial statements. Anything that is custom or tailored to the individual or the entity's, my customers' preferences or requests. Process costing, which is what is covered in more detail in Chapter 16, is used in a mass manufacturing context where I make a lot of the same product over and over and over again using standardized processes so that I can be more efficient. So you could think of things like pens, calculators, most clothing, let's say hats, shirts, staplers, erasers, so on and so forth. Anything that you could see being made in a mass manufacturing context, you would use process costing for. So characteristics of job order costing context. The products are not very similar. They're very unique or custom. So not similar to one another. It's lower production volume. largely because I can make less, because I'm not as efficient, because I can't really standardize my processes. Because standardization means that I develop some process where I can do the same thing over and over again. Think about like a machine that was maybe used like in a mass manufacturing context where like they were a bakery or where they were making like some kind of baked goods or snacks. They would probably have machines that like mix the ingredients automatically, that dispense the ingredients into like the cups or like into the baking dishes, that roll them into the ovens, that time them and roll them out. That's standardization, meaning the same thing happens every single time. It's often remote, or it's often robotically programmed. So mass manufacturing contexts are very standardized, but because I'm doing something different every single time here, I'm making unique products, I can't really standardize, which makes me less efficient compared to process costing, which means I cannot make as many of them, so I produce fewer units. What three costs are added to work in process via debiting work in process? So these are also the three costs that are added to my job cost sheet under job costing. Those costs are direct materials, direct labor, and applied, aka estimated, overhead. Not my actual overhead, but the applied or estimated overhead. And by add it to work in process, we literally mean debit work in process. So here we're going to talk about how we apply or how we treat applied and actual overhead. Remember that I will have one mention of applied overhead in my journal entries, 3 journal entry lines dedicated to actual overhead costs. How do I treat each of these with respect to like what do I do to the overhead account for each of these? Applied or estimated overhead, I always fund the overhead account, so I would credit this overhead account. My applied overhead is the credit. I draw from that estimated overhead that I funded that overhead account with by debiting overhead. So I will have 3 debits to overhead for these 3 actual overhead costs: indirect materials, indirect labor, other actual overhead. So if I see anything listed as direct materials or labor, I know I need to debit work in process. If I see any materials or labor listed as indirect, I know I need to debit overhead. And my applied overhead journal entry, I want to add it to work in process by debiting work in process. And I want to fund my overhead account as the one time I credit overhead. That is what that journal entry will always look like in our class. Okay, that is the end of video 1. We'll pick back up with video 2 at the top of page 2 with the chapter 15 application and practice problem.